ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the news flash on Messager Television with me, Vanessa Long. On May 12, 2026, the government of Cameroon finalized the acquisition of 58.08% of Société Générale Cameroon, raising its stakes to nearly 84% alongside Sanlam Alliance. Conducted under the supervision of the Banking Commission of Central Africa, COBAC, the transaction was presented as a strategic move to transform the newly rebranded General Bank of Cameroon into a cornerstone of the country's financial sovereignty, a key financier of state-owned enterprises, and a vehicle for mobilizing national savings. However, optimism quickly gave way to controversy. During the bank's first board of directors meeting in Yaoundé on July 15, attention shifted to the appointment of Victor Numue as managing director. Although widely respected within the banking industry for his international experience and professional credentials, Numue's reported Canadian nationality has sparked a heated legal debate. Critics point to Article 31 of Cameroon's 1968 Nationality Code, which states that any Cameroonian who voluntarily acquires a foreign nationality automatically forfeits Cameroonian citizenship. The law remains in force and has never been amended, yet opponents argue that it appears to have been overlooked in this case. According to several sources, Numue's appointment is said to have been facilitated by long-standing university ties with Manfoué Futsa Hervé, an influential official at the presidency of the Republic who represents the executive branch on the boards of several public institutions. Critics cite the case as another example of elite patronage and the influence of power networks within the state, arguing that individuals close to the authorities are treated differently despite the widely acknowledged foreign citizenship or residency status of many members of the country's political elite. This perceived leniency stands in sharp contrast to previous cases involving other Cameroonians. In 2017, musician Dédé Yango lost the presidency of the Cameroonian Society of Authors and Related Rights, SOCAM, because of his American nationality. In 2020, Hervé Emmanuel Com, a senior member of the ruling CPDM political party, was barred by the Constitutional Council from contesting legislative elections over his French passport. Other senior civil servants have reportedly seen promotions blocked solely because their spouses have foreign nationality. The controversy has also reignited broader questions about the place of the Cameroonian diaspora in national life. Why, critics ask, is dual nationality celebrated in the country's national football teams, where many players hold multiple citizenships, yet viewed as grounds for exclusion from economic governance, except when exceptions appear to benefit those with political connections? The debate leaves lawmakers facing what many see as an unavoidable choice: either reform the 1968 Nationality Code to formally recognize dual nationality while restricting access to sensitive sovereign positions, particularly in defense and national security, or enforce the existing law consistently and without exception. Until that legal ambiguity is resolved, critics argue that the perception of selective enforcement risks undermining public confidence in state institutions and raising further concerns about governance, accountability, and the management of public assets in Cameroon. June 7 to August 6, 2026. It has now been exactly 60 days since Cameroonians began questioning the absence of the man who was sworn in November 6 and in whom they renewed their confidence on October 12, 2025 by electing him to an 8th consecutive term. For many, this was proof of their attachment to the man himself, his leadership, and the institutions he embodies. It is therefore only natural that concerns has grown as the country's president has now been absent for 2 months. While opposition political parties describe this prolonged absence as unprecedented, the government maintains that there is no reason for controversy. Nevertheless, the public has observed that despite his absence, several presidential decrees bearing the signature of the President of the Republic have been published. These include decrees appointing senior military officials, authorizing financial agreements with the International Development Association, as well as a loan agreement with the Islamic Development Bank. This may be seen as evidence that even from afar, the President of the Republic, President Paul Biya, continues to carry out his duties. However, some of these decisions have ignited controversy at the highest levels of government. Like children eagerly awaiting their father's return, Cameroonians continue to wait patiently for the return of the father of the nation. Let's now talk environment. In Maroua, in the far north region, the season's first heavy downpours has raised fresh concerns among residents. In the Doualare neighborhood of Maroua 2 subdivision, runoff water quickly turned several streets into streams, making movements difficult for motorbikers and pedestrians. Some homes have already begun to flood. Inadequate drainage infrastructure, clogged drains filled with waste, and rapid urbanization have worsened flooding whenever heavy rains occur. The situation is even worse in Limbe, southwest region of Cameroon. Heavy rains that fell during the night of August 4 to 5 caused a house to collapse in the Mbende neighborhood. The disaster claimed 3 lives, while flooding also affected several parts of the city, including Down Beach, Mabeta, Bota, and local markets. In response to the tragedy, Prime Minister Joseph Dion Goute expressed his condolences to the bereaved families and his support for those affected. He assured them that the nation stands with you during this difficult time. The city council also reacted to the situation, calling on the population to avoid movements during heavy downpours. In both Maroua and Limbe, residents are calling for stronger flood prevention measures, for their safety is primordial. Let's end in sport. Samuel Eto'o has secured a legal victory before the disciplinary bodies of the Confederation of African Football. The CAF Appeals Board has decided to overturn the sanctions imposed on the president of the Cameroon Football Federation, FECAFOOT, following the Cameroon-Morocco match played during the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. The ruling brings to an end a disciplinary process that had resulted in a 4-match suspension from official competitions for the former Indomitable Lions captain, along with a $20,000 fine. After reviewing the case, the appeals board concluded that the sanctions no longer be upheld. With this decision, Samuel Eto'o has been officially cleared in the matter and is free to continue his duties as president of FECAFOOT without any restrictions stemming from the disciplinary proceedings. The ruling also represents a legal victory for the Cameroonian football executive, who challenged the sanctions immediately after they were announced. The decision comes at a time when Samuel Eto'o continues to be at the center of several issues related to the governance of the Cameroonian Football Federation. By overturning the sanctions, the appeals board has brought one of his deputies with CAF to a close and strengthened his position within the country's football administration. That was it for this edition, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Messager Television.
Le Messager Télévision, à l'écoute du peuple.